Howdy. Welcome, Aggie women, Aggies, women anywhere. Welcome to this month's Beyond the Books event. We are so excited that you are with us today on this inaugural day. There's a lot going on, and if we are anywhere on your radar, we are delighted. So welcome to this session, which is focusing on secrets to owning, starting and owning your own business. I personally think this is a really cool and exciting topic because there are so many people in the world right now who are really, they're wanting a little more independence, and they're wanting to do some things, and hopefully this is going to give you the courage and the resources to move forward. We have got a great panel. Before we get started with introducing the panel, I want to give you just a little bit of information. First of all, my name is Vicki Kelsey. I am a current board member on Aggie Women Network. It is a group that is a constituent group of the former students, and we think that we have some great stuff going on. And so if you're not a member, we would love to have you join us. What we have set up today, this is a pretty big topic, and we think that we've got some panelists that have a lot of information to share. So today's agenda is going to be driven, first of all, by your questions. And we're going to answer directly as many as we can, and any that we run out of time or are too big for us to address in this session, we will follow up with you. So first of all, just to give you a little lay of the land, your questions will be submitted today via the question and answer function in Zoom. And we've got a group of folks that are managing those questions for us, and we will answer them as they come in. And so you won't necessarily see all of those questions. We will, however, post questions that have been answered so that you'll know kind of the status of those, and we'll make sure that we follow up on any and all questions that you have. I want to introduce this panel to you because I feel so lucky to have such a great group of thought leaders with us today. And I'm going to start ladies first. And so we have Celia Good is with us today, and she is an Aggie, class of 72, and she has an amazing story to tell about starting a business, growing a business, and she has so much great experience and insight. Celia, what would you share with us about yourself that maybe we didn't read in your bio when we saw your bio on the website?
I think my bio may make me sound like I'm really special, and I don't think I'm really special. I also, I went to Texas A&M and got a degree in education, and I was going to be an English teacher, but because of life circumstances, it didn't work out that way. And I ended up working for my dad's law firm. And I wasn't a great student, but I seemed to have a knack for business and recruiting business and working with people. And so what I would like to say today is, you may not have training to start your own business, but that doesn't mean anything. If you want to start your own business and you have the desire and drive, you can do it.
Yep. I love that. That is so inspiring, and I couldn't agree with you more. So welcome, Celia. Can't wait for you to share more of your experience with us. Now, I'm going to sandwich in our panelists here. We've got a panelist here with us who is not from Texas A&M. I would like to think that he wishes he were, but he is got a great amount of experience, and that is Tim Jeffcoat. Tim, what would you kind of share with us that we might not have known just from looking at your bio?
Well, I guess you might call me an honorary Aggie. I went to Auburn, which is probably Alabama's equivalent of Texas A&M.
Oh, there you go.
But the one thing you might not know about me from working with a lot of businesses, I have an MBA, but I also used to work in the music industry where the Rolling Stones recorded some albums, and the Eagles and the Allman Brothers and quite a few others. So music is my passion, but this is my day job, and I love it
Uh,
too.
Oh, I love that. Well, you've endeared yourself to many of us just by telling us about your musical connection. So, welcome. We are so glad that you are spending time with your honorary Aggie friends today.
Thank you.
And then, lastly, we've got a gentleman, Blake Petty, who is an Aggie, and he is still very closely connected with Texas A&M, as you saw in his bio. Welcome, Blake. What would you share with us today that might be something we didn't recognize from your bio?
Well, thanks, Vicki, and howdy, Ags. Yes, I am very, very intimately connected with Texas A&M. I like to say I came here as a fish in 1994. I got stuck in the maroon mud, and I'm still just as happy as a pig staying here at A&M. I do have the honor of running the Mcferron Center for Entrepreneurship. So guess what? This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I also have something of a similar story like Celia has. I came to A&M to study animal science. I was not going to be a teacher. I was supposed to go back and run the family farm. And as you can see, that was not the career path that I chose or was chosen for me, but I'm so happy to be a part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem around campus and around Texas and frankly around the nation and the globe. We've got some amazing, fascinating Aggie entrepreneurs for you to learn from. And we've got a lot of resources for those of you who are considering. I like to call lots of people entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs, and we take all kinds. So really excited to be here today. Thank you, Vicki.
Oh, thanks. I love that. Entrepreneurs. I love that. That's clever. So we had some questions that came in from the website in advance of this session. And I want to make sure that we have time to get to those today. But one of the things that really kind of came to me as I was thinking about this session is I wonder if there is a way to articulate or describe kind of what kind of person makes a successful entrepreneur. I know there's lots of different businesses, there's lots of different models and lots of different people, but I'm curious from the panel members, have you sort of identified some commonalities that you see in successful entrepreneurs? Blake, I'm gonna start with you. What do you
Sure.
think?
It's a big question. It's an unanswered question, and I'm not sure that we will ever get to an answer. However, I will tell you that here at A&M, both inside the business school and across several colleges, we're running some very interesting research projects to find out, can we actually detect what these call it an aptitude or characteristic of certain entrepreneurs, and even can we take that out over a long enough period of time to see what makes a successful entrepreneur versus perhaps not so successful. So we are studying this. This is probably one of these things that could turn, a 25, 30-year project. However, it is something that scientifically is of interest and something that we hope to eventually dig down to the bottom of it. And we'd like Texas A&M to be the one determining, yep, we have figured out the entrepreneur gene or aptitude or character, whatever that is. I can tell you from my own experience. Now, granted, I do work with a majority of young entrepreneurs. We're talking about students for the most part. We see lots of students with lots of passion, and they're very excited about the things that they get excited about. Now, what's a challenge but a great opportunity for us is that 65,000 students just here in College Station, they get excited about a lot of things, and not everything might turn into a product or a business. So we do an awful lot of hand holding and guiding toward the things that they can be excited about, as well as their customer being excited about, which
Yeah.
is ultimately a very important thing. If you ask me what are some of the characteristics that I see, especially in young entrepreneurs, number one, first and foremost, it's persistence. There is no one who made it big, successful, happy without having very unsuccessful, unhappy times that they go through. We learn more from our failures than we do from our successes. And so that means that our entrepreneurs need to learn how to tolerate failure, how to embrace it, and how to learn from it. So it takes a very, very persistent character to make it as an entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
I'll stop there and let the other panelists weigh
Yeah.
in.
Well, actually, I'm going to piggyback off of something that you said. So you said that you meet a lot of young people that have a lot of ideas, and an interesting question came up in our Q&A just now that kind of piggybacks off of that. I'm gonna let Tim sort of think about this one first. The question is, how do you determine holes in an industry that your business could possibly fill?
The easy answer is you ask the people that are buying the products or services. They
Yeah.
don't always know what they want. And so that's the role of the is to be able to anticipate the needs of the industry. But if you're not in touch with the industry, it might be difficult to do. Every industry has got unmet needs. Sometimes those products or services don't yet exist. Sometimes they need to be improved. But if you're trying to identify in your industry those holes, I'll give you a quick recommendation. We have, with the Small Business Administration, we support directly financially some organizations that help entrepreneurs at no charge. One of those organizations is called SCORE. And SCORE is full of mentors that have been where you are right now, maybe 20 or 30 years ago. They started a business because they identified a need in a market. They grew their business, and now they volunteer their time to help folks like you. Spending 30 minutes with one of those folks can feel like getting a college degree in some respects. They
Oh,
can
wow.
help you think about ways to identify those holes. But bottom line, your industry will have unmet needs. Identifying them really comes down to being in touch with the people that purchase and use the products and understanding what their needs are.
Yeah. That is great, great insight. And also, I didn't know about SCORE. That is an amazing resource. Celia, you in your story, you kind of allude, and I read in your story that your experience did teach you a little bit about what the secret sauce was for you when it comes to being successful and identifying what your particular business was trying to, what need they were trying to fill. What was that for you?
Well, for me, I believe very strongly in talking to people and listening to people. I believe in mentors. I was like a sponge, and I tried to soak up everything I could from anybody who had any kind of knowledge that I did not have. And then I also wanted to listen to the people that I was doing business with, customers, and find out what they wanted, because it doesn't matter how great you are at doing something, if nobody wants it, it's not very valuable. And then another important thing to me was the people I worked with. I wanted them to buy into what we were doing so that I didn't have to tell them what to do. They knew what to do. I mean, they were asking the customers the same question I was. And so they were serving everybody. But
Right,
one of the
right.
things that was so important to me that so much of it was trial and error, as Blake talks about. Do this, and yeah, I did well, or I did this and whoops, fell on my face, pick it up, start over again. But you have to just try to find out what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes you look like an idiot, and sometimes you look like you're really smart.
Well, and part of what you just shared with us answers another question that just came in. How do you inspire and motivate people to follow you or to invest in you? So I love your insight, Celia, is ask them, be genuine, be transparent, and ask the question. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you've done in your experience?
Well, I mean, what I realized really early on was I, as one individual, could not do everything. I could not serve all the needs of any customer we had. And so I had to hire the right person. And then I had to make sure that person was on the same page that I was. And the only way you do that is you talk to them, you ask questions, you tell them what your desires are, and you listen to what they say. And then one of the things that you always hear is the customer is always right. And that is not true. Now, you may try to make the customer think you think they're right, but really, you have to treat the customer well, but you have to treat the employee better.
Yeah, I love that. And I used to tell people that worked for me, the customer is not always right, but they are always the customer.
Yeah, yeah.
And so let's frame our relationship around that. Blake, anything else you sort of have resources or anything else you have kind of told people who maybe have come to the Entrepreneurial Center with that same similar question? How do I get people to follow or
Oh
invest
yeah,
in me?
we get that a lot. In fact, we see a lot of followers, if you will. So students who are curious about entrepreneurship, want to get involved with it, and then admit right up front, I don't have an idea. I don't know what my business might be. I think I would just like to start my business, own my business, run my business. That's interesting to me. And so we deal with a lot of these collisions between I have an idea, I want you to follow me, and I don't have an idea, I'm looking to be inspired by others. And Celia talked about how it's a messy, sticky, fuzzy type of process. But in reality, it isn't everything that inspires you in life. You aren't aware of it. You don't realize how inspired you could be until it's shared with you as a business opportunity or a product opportunity. Or what I really like to push everyone to find is the problem to solve, right? People love spending money on solutions that solve their problems. If it's not solving a problem, now you've got to be a better salesperson to convince them out of their money.
Yeah.
So if you can find your passion around a problem and developing a solution for that, then presenting that, telling others, sharing that solution with others who are also or can become passionate about that problem. Sometimes you find your best customers are the ones who have been out trying to solve the problem on their own. And if you provide a new solution, now you've got not only a passionate customer, hopefully it's somebody who is advertising for you, perhaps even joining your team, providing their support for something that they're clearly passionate about. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's a real silver bullet other than, as Celia said, sharing with others, talking with others, making sure that you're not the only one in the world who has passion about that particular project or product.
Right, right. Tim,
Yes, ma'am.
uh, anything you would add?
Well, I want to step just a minute. And you had been talking about what's the character of an entrepreneur? What are some of those features that exist within successful entrepreneurs? And yeah, there's a lot of answers to that question, but I can tell you a few that come to mind for me from working with entrepreneurs every day as I do. And I'll use an example. In fact, we all know Marche Warfield, who is a Aggie grad. And she came to the SBA a few years ago in a special program we have for businesses that are ready to grow. And we have ways that we measure them being ready to grow. And I think by her own admission, she would say that when she came into the program, she really wasn't sure what the future was going to hold or where she was going to go. But what she got together with her natural characteristic of doing her own thing, wanting to be her own boss, and being completely willful to grow, is then she brought in some discipline and she brought in some experienced mentors and advisors to help her figure out some good growth paths. She went into industry she never thought she would go into. She started hiring people that she never thought she would hire before. And then she generated within the first year after the program, and I'm not trying to advertise the SBA's programs, I'm talking about Marche. And in her first year afterward, she got some really impressive growth, and she has perpetuated that growth. Why? Why Marche? Why not somebody else? One of the factors, and it's certain, like Blake was pointing out, it's not the only one, it's a nest of factors. But one of those factors is being willing to take risk.
Mm-hmm.
There are many of us that like a salary, like our benefit package. We like knowing that next week or next month, we're going to be able to take care of our family and not have to worry about where the revenue comes from.
Right.
It's a different breed that is willing to say, you know what, we're going to just quit our job today. We're going to go make this thing happen. And it's believing in themselves is one of the key factors. If you look at Henry Ford or Elon Musk
Yeah.
or Richard Branson, famous entrepreneurs, that's part of why they succeeded. And for those of you on here, I've seen a couple of the comments about, hey, yeah, some of us don't have business education, so we have a disadvantage. Guess who else doesn't have a business education? Bill Gates.
Mhm.
He dropped out of college.
Yeah.
So you can do it too.
Yeah. That's great advice. Thank you. Thank you. Now, we've had a couple of other really good questions come in, but before we go there, I want to ask one that came in from the website, and it was actually from I'm trying to lower Jeff's hand and I just raised mine, so we're not going to worry about that. Okay, so this question came in. My daughter this was from a mom whose daughter is in this situation, but her daughter is in class today and cannot attend. So she's going to have to hear the answer on the video. But my daughter is a full-time student in ag economics, graduating in August. Congratulations. She has an online business making turquoise jewelry as a silversmith. She'll continue this business once she graduates. And she's got some really just practical, down to earth questions that some other people in the audience might be able to identify with. Her boyfriend is starting to help her. Should she pay him or make him a partner? She's in this position where she's little. She's not thinking of quitting everything and launching this business, but still she's got passion around doing this thing. So what advice do you have for someone who's kind of in that space? And that it's a hard space because sometimes you either need to go all in or not. But I'll start with you, Tim.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I do. There's a specific advice I'd like to give. Plus, I see that this person is on the webinar today. So this person you're talking about is right there in College Station. You said she's in school now, getting her economics degree. Congratulations. I teach economics. I would connect right there in Bryan College Station. You have what's called a Small Business Development Center. They're another one of the really important partners of the Small Business Administration. They're what I would call the feet on the street that work hand in hand at no charge with small businesses. This young lady is at the point where she could connect with Lisa at the Small Business Development Center, and Lisa can help her find her own answers to those problems. It's one thing to give somebody an answer, but it's another to coach them through the process of finding their answers.
Oh, yeah.
And if she's thinking about starting a business, that's a big deal. This might be the perfect time. It might be the most terrible time in her life.
Yeah.
But I think that you've got a great advisor right there in Bryan College Station that is available to help her think through this, because there are multiple ramifications. It's easy to say, yes, go do this. You're passionate. You make great jewelry. By the same token, somebody else could say, are you kidding me? You just get your degree. With a degree in economics, you can go to work for a Mellon Bank tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
There again is that personality of risk averse or not. So I think you're in really good hands right there. If you were to get in touch with Lisa down at the Small Business Development Center right there in Bryan College Station.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Celia, an interesting question came in. It says, as a woman in your field running a business, were there obstacles that you feel were specific to, sort of gender specific, and how did you overcome them?
I think part of the issue is that I'm just kind of naive or dumb, because yes, when I was in business and I would go to different meetings, I was like one female out of 50 males or something. And I didn't really think about it. When people talk about discrimination about females, it was probably happening, but I was so obtuse I didn't notice. But looking back on it, when I talk to people, they say, well, we know. I was very involved in the Chamber of Commerce, which was mainly males. And looking back on it, people would say, well, we knew when you got appointed as a chairmanship, you would do all the work. So we wanted to be on your committee. But if some man was appointed, his secretary did all the work. So we like to follow you. And I really didn't think about it. I just did what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And
Yeah.
I probably was discriminated against, but I didn't notice. I remember when they were passing out duties for the Chamber of Commerce, and they nominated all the new vice presidents in different divisions, and they didn't nominate any female. And it made me mad. So I went to the new president, and I wasn't asking for the job, but I said, "What are you thinking? I mean, there are women in business now, and this is what you're nominating all these white males to be in charge." And so then he nominated me for some position, which I didn't necessarily want, but it was like, I don't know. I just always stood up. If I thought there was something going on that wasn't any good, I would call him on it.
Yeah. 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 Good advice. Good advice. And don't, and obviously you didn't have a chip on your shoulder about it either.
Well, if I did, I didn't realize it.
Yeah. Hey, Blake, an interesting question came up that might be in your sort of wheelhouse. What advice do you have for a social entrepreneur? Do the tips and ideas shared now apply to social entrepreneurship?
Fantastic question that we actually do get a lot, quite frequently. I think I don't want to be dismissive, but in general, yes, there's no reason to consider social entrepreneurship as, oh, well, we follow completely different rules than regular, for-profit entrepreneurship. In fact, really the only technical difference involves the tax laws, right? Because I try my best to remind early entrepreneurs with a social focus that there still has to be a transaction that allows you to continue providing that social value. It's an exchange of value, whether that is a social value or a product value or a problem solution type of exchange. So if you are thinking of doing an entrepreneurial project that has a social mission, you still need to find that value creation that would compel someone to give you resources. Maybe the resources aren't financial, but you're going. Otherwise, it is very tough to keep a charity going when there's no charity coming in,
Yeah.
right? So you need to establish something where there is value creation so that value can be exchanged. And yes, of course, the basic principles of establishing a business that provides value, that can scale that value providing, and can receive the value to continue to scale and sustain itself. Those principles fall in line between social entrepreneurship, non-social, all these other. And one good thing that perhaps Tim and Lisa. Oh, in fact, I saw Lisa on in the audience. So Lisa,
Oh, okay.
glad to see you here. And I will echo Tim's recommendation. Lisa and the SBDC here are tremendous resources for you. But I think you would agree that now more than ever there are opportunities in corporate laws and in tax laws that allow companies to have a greater social mission than ever before. Back in certain times, it was just you needed to be compelled as a corporate to support social causes that might not be making you a compensation for that effort. Nowadays, we've got more laws. Maybe it's not perfect and it's not all the way there yet, but we've got more laws that will support a social function, allowing you to create value and exchange that value with someone while doing good for whatever purpose you must be passionate about. And you also have to have customers that are passionate about that purpose as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice. So interesting question here. How do you juggle short-term and long-term goals as a new business owner? Tim or Celia, raise your hand. Who wants to jump on that one first?
I'll be happy to throw out a quick comment there. It's not
Okay.
just being an entrepreneur, it's anyone, whether you're the president of the United States or you're, someone that has no job. Juggling short-term and long-term goals is a constant challenge. I would tell you to Google the Eisenhower Method. It's a pretty simple method, and it helps you separate what's important from what's urgent. Sometimes they are mutually exclusive. Take a quick read through that, and it should help sort out your thought process. Generally, though, when running a business, long-term goals tend to be strategic. Where do you want your business to go? What kind of growth do you want to achieve? What kind of products do you want to generate? Those kinds of things. What kind of markets do you want to get into? Whereas the shorter term tend to be more tactical. What are the steps towards achieving those goals? And using that kind of a systematic approach of short-term tactics to reach longer-term goals is usually pretty beneficial.
Yeah. Celia, did you have any, based on your experience, how did you manage that?
I
Juggling
think
those.
one of the things that you have to be concerned about is sometimes when you set out with your goals and then you have a crisis come up and you kind of often, unfortunately, you kind of forget the goal and deal with the crisis. And you can't let that interfere.
Right.
And
Right.
too
Right.
often, I mean, it goes back to what Tim is describing. I mean, what is it? It's like, this is a really important goal, but it's not critical. This one's a critical goal, but it's not important, and all the different ways. So
Right.
it's difficult.
It is. You have to stay focused. You know, in my my business, I consult to executive leaders, and I call it the tyranny of the urgent. And you know, they I mean, I can't tell you, I mean, just about every executive that I find myself coaching seems to fall victim to the tyranny of the urgent. And so it's not an uncommon
Right. You either
phenomenon.
fall victim because you have kind of a hysterical employee who makes everything urgent, or you have an hysterical customer who comes in and makes demands that his transaction is going to happen 2 weeks from now and he wants immediate answers, and you have 15 things that are due tomorrow, and you have to juggle it and make him think that you really care.
Yeah. We have got a lot of great questions that are coming in. I'm trying to get to them as quickly as I can, but a question that keeps recurring, and I want to again reassure all of you that are in attendance, we're going to post these resources and these URL, and you will get all of that in our follow-up email to you following this session, because I've had a couple, ooh, what was that resource that Tim just referred to? So don't stress out over that. We're gonna make sure we've got you covered on that. For someone looking to get work experience at a non-startup organization in order to prepare to be a future well-rounded business owner, is there an industry you would recommend?
I can jump in on this one, Vicki, and that is to say, no, there's not one particular industry I would recommend. You know, we started off some of the discussion um, about finding those opportunities, identifying those problems, which ones are right for you to go after, which ones are you passionate about. I can tell you that the vast majority of the entrepreneurs that we that come to the Mcferron Center are actually post-grads. They have gotten a degree in, pick it, animal science, education, whatever. They have gone into career. They have spent X number of years in that career, and during that process have identified the silly, stupid, inefficient ways that their employer is solving problems. And this becomes their passion because they realize there's a better way to do this. I could do this better. I could do it cheaper, faster. I could make a better margin at this than what my employer is doing. And so and then of course they are coming back to the Mcferron Center and asking, how do I now start a business? I now understand where the gaps are in my industry. I can fill those gaps. I can be successful with that. How do we do that? That's where I think anyone who is curious about, I think I want to start a business, I think I want to own my own thing, but I don't know what opportunity, what problems, I don't know where I should go. You shouldn't just select any particular industry because maybe it's hot today, maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe you are excited about it now, but you're not excited about it in the future. I think you're going to have to pick something that you are already passionate about, something just like our job seekers here on campus. You've got to find the right fit and the right job for you. And from that experience, you should be able to find those gaps and those opportunities, those problems to solve, regardless of what industry you select.
Yeah, but the piece of your response though that really stands out for me that I think is good to remember is doesn't matter where you are in terms of a non-startup, pay attention. Learn wherever you are, try to learn, and that seems to be really strong advice to people that it doesn't seem like we would forget to do it, but we do sometimes, right? Interesting question here. When you're building an advisory board, what is the best way to structure it? Should I focus on it accommodating the long-term growth, or do I focus on the short-term needs, which we've already talked about a little bit, but I'm curious. So Celia, did you form an advisory board for your company?
Uh, yes, we had no, yes, no, no.
Okay.
We had a
Okay.
board
Tia?
of employees that worked together
Oh,
and would
okay.
go over, we would meet once a month and we would talk about, these are the issues that we're facing and this is what we've tried to do, but we haven't been successful, or does anybody else have any ideas? But we never did an outside board. But
Well, I think employees on an advisory board is a model
Mhm.
that has a lot of merit.
well,
Tim, have you seen other models that, I'm sorry,
I
Celia.
just started to say what I tried, especially as we got to be bigger and bigger. When I first started out, I did every single job of the company. And, some of them I was good at, some of them I wasn't. But as we got bigger and bigger, I didn't know the day to day what they were experiencing. And so the best thing about having the people come together and talk about their problems is you could hear what issues they had and how they had dealt with them, and not necessarily from me, but other workers would say, well, yeah, I had that same thing go on in my department and this is how I solved it. So
Yep, that's great. That's great. I didn't mean to
no,
cut you off.
I'm
Thank you for
sorry.
jumping back in. Yeah. Tim, have you seen other models for advisory boards that you think might be interesting for people to think about?
Well, I think it depends on the stage of your business. If it's the very early years of this, you might really want some folks that can advise you on day-to-day tactics. Things as simple as cash flow management. Businesses have to learn to do that. But once you have your business relatively stable, then I would propose that you really want your advisory board to have a long-term view, the kind of folks that can advise you on where the industry is going, where technology is going, and other factors that are really pertinent for your business. Because you want to be in this for either you want to be in this for the long haul as a legacy for your family, building a business that your children can run and et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
or you're building a business that you can sell and you're doing that because you want to create great value with it. All the more reason to have good long-term strength in your business.
Yeah.
By the way, Blake and I didn't rehearse this, but I want to build on what he said a minute ago when he was talking about it doesn't really matter what industry. If you go to work for an existing company, pay attention. There are opportunities everywhere. I'll give you an example. This guy named Kevin Plank used to hate going home every day from football practice all sweaty. And if you wear cotton stuff and you get sweaty, it's not always real pleasant. So a new fabric, or maybe he didn't invent it, he's found a new fabric. Make a long story short, he created Under Armour.
Oh
And he's
my
a
goodness.
billionaire today because he figured out athletes don't like driving home from practice in sweaty cotton gear that just chafes and causes problems. Why don't we use compression garments and different fabrics that will wick the perspiration away from your body? Who would have thought of it? That's the whole point.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you work for a tractor company or a laser beam manufacturer, there are opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. I love that. So this next question is asked with such so genuinely, and I want each of you to have an opportunity to answer this question because I think it's such a great question. After years of feeling undervalued at work, I'm opening my own practice. I don't even know what question to ask. Do you have any tips for me? So I'm sure all of you have at least one. So short of overwhelming this person, I think that's a great question because it probably does apply to a lot of us. I don't even know what I don't know.
okay, I want to start because undervalued,
Okay.
I think, is something that Sorry, guys. I think females feel on a regular basis. What I would begin with, why did you feel undervalued? I mean, was it that they treated you poorly? And if you start out, you learn from negative and you learn from positive. I was fortunate that I had good bosses. And so when I started running a business, I could use the example of them. But people who have had bad bosses can use the example of, I will never do that,
Mm-hmm.
and treat themselves and their employees and their customers better. So you learn from the good and you learn from the bad.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great place to start. So think about the person and think about the relationships that you want to build in this new practice. I'm going to left to right on my screen. So Tim, what advice would you give this person?
Well, I agree with what Celia said. There's a particular item there to deal with, which is feeling undervalued. You value yourself. And if you're developing a practice, I'm assuming when you say practice, that's either going to be legal or medical.
Mm-hmm.
So your clients will certainly value you if you bring value to them.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to bring value to them, what can you do? Anybody can be, that's not fair to say. Any physician can open a practice. Any attorney can open a practice. What differentiates yours? So to get there, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I really think it's a great use of your time and it is no expense to you to contact someone like Lisa at the Small Business Development Center there in Bryan. Now, you might not be in Bryan, you might be somewhere else in Texas. No problem. There's going to be a Small Business Development Center where you are. And in the larger cities, you've got the SCORE organization, which here in the Houston area is just outstanding. 165 volunteers, like Celia, grown a business, done great with it. They're at a point where, you know what, I can volunteer some time and I can help people get along with their business. And they can help you structure your business in a way that really makes a difference and adds value. And I'm aware that I'm only half woman on my mother's side. For those of you that are all women, and you prefer to work with women on your business, we have 2 women's business centers in the Houston area. And again, if you're in Dallas or you're in Austin, wherever you are, there's a women's business center there in all likelihood. And there you've got an equivalent organization that can help you figure out how to make that practice be something the clients value, and in turn, they value you, and you build a robust business. So that's why the SBA exists, is exactly to help organizations like yours, and we would love to do it.
All right. And you're in the Central Texas area, Tim, but I want to assure everyone there is an SBA in other places. It just doesn't happen to be led by you, right? So how do they?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm specifically in Southeast Texas, Houston in the center. Not that it matters, but here in Texas, there are 5 more of me. 1 in Dallas, 1 in San Antonio, which includes Austin, 1 in Lubbock, 1 in El Paso, and 1 down in Harlingen. But SBA is everywhere in the United States in all its territories.
Okay. Okay. Blake, how would you respond to this? I don't know what I don't know.
Sure. My first response is to commend this person. The question came in anonymously, or I would actually call you out by name. Kudos to you for 2 things. Number one, recognizing that there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that Blake doesn't know, even Tim, Celia, those who have gone through tremendously long and successful careers as entrepreneurs, there's a ton they don't know. So by simply admitting to yourself and embracing the fact that there's a lot of things that you don't even realize that you need to know that you still don't know, that's my first accolade to this person. The second one, I would also congratulate you for already doing what I think is one of the most important things, and that's networking. We've talked through this entire hour about the power of listening to your customers, learning from your mentors, finding the right advisors for your company, finding those who are passionate about what you're passionate about. There is no easy way to do that except through platforms just like this. The Aggie Women's Network is a great platform for you to find others who could turn out to be your mentors, who could turn out to be your best first employees. So you're going to need to put yourself, and yes, I know it's a little bit frightening, but you're going to have to put your business out there for others to be able to get to know you, get to know your business, and you need to be willing to connect and actually work with these people within your network. One of the biggest mistakes that I see, especially young entrepreneurs make, is trying to go at it alone. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful alone, but I guarantee you'll work harder alone. You'll probably work longer because you're doing a lot of things that others could do even better than you can. But the likelihood of an entrepreneur being successful as they begin to grow a team goes up exponentially. And so I want to encourage everyone not only to utilize this network, to utilize the resources that Tim has mentioned, the SBA and all of their resources. I also want to invite all of you as Aggies that you should use your Aggie resources, specifically the Mcferron Center for Entrepreneurship. Now, I've told you all that for 20 years, we've been the hub of entrepreneurship here on campus for our students. We take in all students, incoming freshmen, outgoing PhD candidates. I don't care if you're starting a high-tech business or launched an app for bar specials at Northgate. It doesn't matter what the idea is. We want to support entrepreneurship within our student body here on campus. But as I told you, we keep getting calls from formers, folks like yourselves who are posing exactly these questions. And so I'm excited to let you all know that the Mcferron Center is launching a new division, just launched around Christmas. We launched Rev Ventures. And Rev has obvious connotations for your business. It's also a tip of the hat to our lovely mascot, Miss Revly. Rev Ventures is designed specifically for non-students. Now, we're not going to exclude students, but I do want to emphasize this is a new focus for those who are starting business or maybe already in business that are not current students, so that I don't have to say, sorry, you're not currently enrolled, I can't help you. Rev Ventures is just getting started, but we've got some resources and assets. When the email comes to you after the webinar, you'll see the links that will take you straight to find some of our short courses, our boot camps. We're enrolling right now for an end of February boot camp that is literally titled Down to Basics, the Founder's Guide to Launching a Startup. Now, it's a 3-night, it's all virtual. It's very easy for you to log in, but it's also a great way for you to begin networking around those who are going to help you build your business, either as customers, partners, perhaps even employees. So that's my commercial. You'll get the web links for the Mcferron Center as well as the Mcferron Center's new Rev Ventures division.
All right. Now so that resource you just told us about in Rev Ventures, would that be a place to go to get an answer to another question that I'm not sure we're going to have time to deep dive into, but we had a question that said, what's the best way to go about market research? So would that be the kind of thing you might learn at that boot camp?
Absolutely. You'll learn these things yourself. You'll also be connected with one of our Rev Venture resources is called Aggies in Business. Guess what? We got a lot of students here. We got some MBAs that are ready to flex some of these market research muscles that they're learning in the classroom. You can hire them at $50 an hour and they can do some fantastic market research for you. So AIB is just another one of our Rev Ventures resources programs, and you'll find it on the web links that are coming out.
All right. So, so this is an interesting question and one that I'm glad came up. Christina says, I hear a lot about minority-owned and women-owned certifications. Which do I start with?
Let me
So
take
I have
that one.
a opinion, but Tim, I'm going to give you some, let you start us on that one.
Yeah, I get this a lot. And the answer is, if you want to do business with the United States government, or if you want to do business with the state of Texas, or in some cases, if you want to do business with your local municipality, those make a difference. Otherwise, they are completely inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
To get a women-owned business certification with the United States government is not terribly difficult, but once you get it, it doesn't mean anything unless you are going to pursue doing business with the federal government as your customer. Now, it is true, the federal government buys more of anything than anyone. And we set aside up to 5% of all government or women-owned businesses every year. So it's a great way to grow your business by selling to contracts with the United States government. But that would be the reason that would be valuable to you. Otherwise, it doesn't really have any particular significance. Sometimes on the municipal level, county level, there are some designations there that you can get from the city or county that identify you as minority owned or women owned or LGBT owned, depending on the situation. And that can matter, again, if you're going to do business with them. But if your business, let's say it's retail, or you're a restaurant, or you fabricate chairs, unless you're selling those chairs to those entities, it doesn't really make any difference.
Right. And so the question is which one do I start with? Did I hear you say it doesn't really matter, either or?
Well, it depends on your plan. If your plan is to sell to the United States government and you are a women-owned business, by all means, you want to get a women-owned business certification, because that enables you to compete with other women-owned businesses for contracts set aside only for women-owned businesses. That's wonderful. And these contracts can be life-changing. I mean, you're talking about 6 and 7 and 8 digit contracts. You got to be ready. There's more to it than just getting a certification. There's lots involved in being successful in that arena. That's one of the things that we do, is help small businesses get into what we call federal contracting. Yeah. On the state and local level, same thing. If your intent is to sell your, let's say, IT services to the state of Texas, then by all means, there are certifications that you can get with the state of Texas that can help you in that regard. Okay. But unless you're going to be selling to those organizations or those kinds of entities, it doesn't generally make any difference if you get those certifications or not.
Okay. Celia, did you have experience with these designations with your business?
Yes, we signed up to do women-owned business because some of the contracts that we got were with like the state of Texas Highway Department. And then we did some business with the cities of College Station and Bryan. And so I don't really know if they decided to give us some business because of our designation or if that just assisted, because we didn't go through the process that Tim's talking about, you know, doing I'm going blank on what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, I do know that the Women's Business Enterprise Council, WBEC, does have some really good resources in terms of training and things like that. And so for someone just starting out, that might warrant, you might look into it and see if it's something that you think would be a benefit.
Yeah, let me add on to your comment, Vicki, and I really neglected that. There are some wonderful organizations around the country that will go through some training with you and certify you, not for doing business with government entities, but for doing business with corporate entities. Mm-hmm. So right here in Houston, the Women's Business Enterprise Alliance will do that. The Houston Minority Supplier Development Council will do that. They take you through a training program, certify you. And in the case of HMSDC, that means you have the HMSDC seal of approval. You can take that to Halliburton or Chevron or whomever and say, they say that I will be a good supplier for you. That does not mean you're going to get a contract, but that means you have essentially a seal of approval that an organization they respect and admire and support has said you're ready to business with them. So that can help in that respect too. I overlooked that, and thank you, Vicki, for putting that back up.
It could be a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have a conversation with
yeah, it can get you in the door. That's true.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking to see if we have any other questions as we get near the end of our hour. I want to be really respectful of everyone's time, so I'm going to go ahead with a little bit of logistical stuff here, and if one more question comes in, we may have time for it. All right. So to the people that are online with us today, if there was anything in this session that you would like to listen to again, or you want to refer this to someone else, you can go to our Aggie Women Network webpage and go to the Beyond the Books page. And at the bottom of the page, you will see an archives section, and you will see a video recording of this particular session as well as other sessions that we have done. I want to also let you know about some other events that we've got coming up at Aggie Women Network that you might be interested in. First of all, we will soon be opening up our mentoring program again. And for those of you that have had success in your fields or in business and would like to mentor a woman student on campus, we would love to talk to you about that. So there will be information on the website around that. Also, we have another online series that we do the first Thursday of every month. It's got a really clever name. It's called First Thursday. And what we do at those events is we also have a panel, but the topics, unlike Beyond the Books, the topics tend to be more specific and more targeted for women students that are currently on campus. They are certainly not limited to that, but that's pretty much who the target audience is. Our next First Thursday is February 4th. It's coming up. And the topic on that one is going to be financial empowerment for women. We've got on the web page, if you go to the calendar, you'll see all of the first Thursday through the end of the school year, and you'll see what the topics are. We think we have some great enlightening topics and some interesting panelists. And those on Thursdays start at 5:45. You can sign up online. And also, as I told you, we're going to be sending a follow-up email to participants. And resources we've talked about will be included. And I'm kind of asking by a nod. I think all of our panelists said they would give their contact information. Okay, perfect. And also in that email, we're going to ask for some feedback about this session. And additionally, what ideas do you have for Beyond the Book sessions in the future? We've done, this is our fourth, so it's still a relatively new kind of venture, but it's one we're having a little bit of fun with. And we plan to do at least one a quarter. We're budgeted for one a quarter this year. If any of you would like to sponsor another one, we'll take your sponsorship. So I guess the only other thing that I'm going to ask, kind of imparting, is there any other kind of nugget that as a panelist you would share with us that really hasn't come up in any of the questions, but you think would be something good for people to think about? So we've got a couple of minutes. I'm going to go in the same order that we introduced ourselves in. So Celia, parting nugget.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, because after we talked about various things, I thought about something. Women, we have been taught, and I hope that we're better now that we have younger women and they have not been put down, but tell people what you want. I think so often men will say, I want to be president, or I want to chair this or do that. And women are like, well, I do such a great job. I'm sure they'll notice how great I'm doing and then pick me. But women need to stand up. If there's something they want, they need to stand up and say, I would really like to take on this job that you've designated, because I think I could do a good job. If you don't speak up, nobody knows it. It's not that they're ignoring you or putting you down. They just don't know you're interested in it. So you have to tell people.
Perfect. And that goes back to learn where you're at. Wherever you are right now, look for opportunities to learn by volunteering and stepping in. Tim, nugget.
I'll add on to what Celia said and then give you mine, which is always ask yourself, what's the worst thing that'll happen? If they say no, they know you're interested, so maybe next time they're going to say yes. So my nugget for you, I have been amazed at the Houston SBA when we don't have COVID. At least twice a month, we do meetups. Some coffee shops somewhere in the Houston area, we invite entrepreneurs to just simply show up and see what happens. And that'll range from 5 people to 30 or 40 or 50 people. What I always find fascinating is that the entrepreneurs spend more time talking to each other than they do to us.
Yeah.
So recognizing that there's that need to to talk with people going through what you're going through, whether you're thinking about it or whether you've been doing it for 20 years, we are doing the same thing online.
Okay.
So if you went to my office's website, and if you're not in Southeast Texas, that's okay. You can still participate. We love you too. Just not as much, but we love you too. You can go to my website and you can find out about those and you can sign up. We'll be doing them starting next week, I think, and we're going to do them frequently. We do a lot of virtual events to introduce entrepreneurs, not only to other entrepreneurs, but to folks that can help them, whether those are bankers or people like Lisa that can help you, coach you through how to run your business. And we just have a huge variety of resources. On any given week, we are probably doing 20 to 30 webinars just out of my office in Southeast Texas. So just Google Houston SBA. That'll take you straight to our website. And in the bottom right-hand corner, sign up for our emails. And as soon as we do anything, we will be letting you know.
I love
Which will be
that. I love
frequently.
that because I will tell you, depending on the kind of business you have, it can be a lonely place sometimes.
That's
All right, Blake, Nugget.
Tim's absolutely right. I see it with 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They just want to get together. So those of us who are not here on campus, you should still have that passion and intention about getting together. And to that point, we've harped several times about the customer, understanding the problem, really knowing what it is that they want solved. There will be a second survey that comes in Vicky's email, and that survey is for me. That's for the Mcferron Center to find out from you what type of programming, information, education, assistance do you need in our new Rev Ventures program. So it's a very quick survey. It is my job to find out what my customers need, and you are my customers. So please fill out both those surveys and give us that information. I'm going to end with, I realize that not everybody on the call may be in Southeast Texas. You may not be in Texas, but I bet you wish you were. But let me just point out that in 2019, Fit Small Business did a study. They took all 50 states. They evaluated each state on 4 equally weighted factors: general business climate and opportunity, the economic and financial health of businesses, safety and well-being for women, and the number of female-owned businesses in that state. Guess which state came in first? Texas is a great state for you to start a business. Don't neglect the resources and the people who can help you be more successful. And one of those resources right here is your Aggie Women's Network. So thank you for your time today.
Oh, you guys, I can't thank the panelists enough. We've gone over a little bit. I think we could have talked for another hour or more. You guys have so much great information to share. Hopefully it's been helpful and informative. And please let us know your thoughts in the surveys. And again, panelists, I just can't thank you enough. We are so lucky to have had you and your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, we're going to sign off, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and hope to see you on a future one of our meetings, either Beyond the Books or First Thursday, or maybe even both. Hope you'll join us.